Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. The first offering of the platform is a public speaking course called Teach the Geek to Speak. To learn more about it, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Aditya Guthey, and he is a software engineer. Well, he was once one, and now he's actually a coach to engineers, a performance coach to engineers. I'm really interested to find out how he got into that line of work, and of course, his beginnings in software engineering and any tips he has on becoming more effective in public speaking. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Aditya.
Thank you so much, Neil. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for having me.
You got it. First question, where did your interest in software engineering come from?
I guess, I'm originally from India. So when you're born in India, naturally everyone becomes a software engineer. That comes from the culture, I guess. And the good thing, though, that came out of it is that I happen to love software engineering as opposed to something I should do because that's what I was told to do. So that's a little different. But.
Okay. Well, at least it worked out for you, kind of like it did for me. So I actually ended up doing engineering because my dad told me to.
Exactly. That's wonderful. So we kind of have similar backgrounds.
Yeah, I suppose so. So yeah. I also noticed that you got a master's too. So what was your motivation to pursue a master's degree?
Like I said, I was interested in engineering as I started to go to school. So I naturally wanted to pursue a master's in engineering, so which I did. There's no special reason. Again, I just followed what everyone else typically does from people I know, my friends and everyone. So I just wanted to get a better degree, so I'm more competitive.
Oh, okay. I got a master's degree too because my father told me to.
Yeah, I love how we are. Yeah, I love how we are being totally honest here. I could be telling my story about why software engineering is the thing I'm supposed to do and things like that, but we're being completely honest.
You know what? I used to lie about that. When people would ask me why I got into engineering, I used to try to come up with a story that was a little more, I guess, entertaining. Just the honest truth is just, I did it because my dad told me to. That's it.
I love it. I actually used to come up with the story too, because, especially when you're in interviews, they tell you have to have some childhood story on why you pursue software engineering. So I have to rig up some stories and figure it out. But again, there's nothing wrong with following what everyone else asks you to do, as long as it works for you, as long as you're not miserable at doing something.
And now that I think about it, I'm curious to find out, when other people are asked that question, how much of them are actually answering it truthfully? You'll hear, I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. I used to take things apart when I was a kid and put it back together. I never did any of that shit. I just, I was okay at math. I was okay at science. I wasn't like the best in class. I guess my father saw engineering as being something that was stable. Engineers don't tend to be unemployed for very long. So he just said, study that. I was like, all right.
So funny you say that, because that's a typical engineer story. If they have to tell something about it, they would talk about how they were really good at tearing things apart and putting them back together. So yeah, I totally agree. It's so funny that we're talking about it now.
Yeah, man. If I took something apart, I don't think I can put that shit back together. Not the way it was before. I don't know. People can do that stuff. Oh, hats off to you. But if my father told me to study dance, I probably would have studied dance. Like whatever it was, I was 17, 18 years old. It's like up until that time, it's just you live in your parents' house. They tell you what to do and you just do it. So it's like I'm just
exactly.
More the same.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so as I said in the intro, I know that you worked for a while as a software engineer. So what did you like the most about the job that you had in working in software?
Yeah, I think the thing that I really enjoyed the most about software engineering is the challenges that I have to solve. like the business teams looked up to engineering teams, and I was one of those engineers, obviously, to solve some challenging technical problems. And every time I solved a challenging technical problem, something that will impact business, something that will impact customers, that's what I enjoyed the most about engineering.
Now that I think about it, I know you said you're from India originally. Did you work as an engineer in India as well, or just in the U.S.?
Just in the U.S. I just came here for my studies and eventually got a job here. So I never worked in India.
Okay, all right. And then when it comes to working in software engineering, what did you like the least about it?
Yeah, good question, man. No one asked me this question, but you know, after a certain period of time of learning and implementing a certain technology, you get into the maintenance mode. And initially, the maintenance mode is fun because you're solving issues. But after that, if it becomes repetitive, that's when I really hate it. I mean, hate is a small word, but yeah, when when it becomes repetitive, that's when I least like.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
you. So, the reason I really wanted to speak with you is because of this background you had. So, for a number of years, you worked as a software engineer, and now you're an engineering a coach to engineers. What was the motivation to move into coaching?
Yeah. So I think it's my wife. It started with my wife, and um, she said she's getting into some coaching. She wants some coach. Wants to pursue some coach training programs, and I'm like, what's that for? And she was telling me it's more discovering your passion, your purpose, discovering what fires you up. As an engineer, I was very logical about things, right? If you want to get motivated, just watch YouTube videos. Why do you have to pursue an expensive coach training program, pay someone to do it? Because for us, everything is in Google. We like to figure things out on our own. We never ask for help, things like that. That typically comes from engineering mindset. So, but after she went through this coach training program, I've seen a lot of shifts in her and on how she's communicating and how she was feeling more fulfilled and things like that. And so I decided to hire a coach for myself because I was having a lot of challenges as an engineer. Like, I want to be able to speak up at work. I want to be able to influence business teams and reach out to people and network more. But things stopped me for some reason. And that's when, after seeing my wife, I said, I want to hire a coach too. And I hired my coach. Within 6 months, I was able to accomplish all my interpersonal goals, which I was not able to accomplish for years. I was kind of stuck in certain areas of my life. So that's when I realized, oh my God, I loved what my coach did for me. And I want to be able to do it for others, because many engineers are good at what they do, but there's still something in them that they don't completely feel fulfilled with, whether it is speaking up or public speaking or networking or personal relationships, whatever it is. And that's when I decided I want to pursue coach training program too. And now I'm a certified coach. And I now coach engineers and transform them into rock stars. So
Interesting. I know you said that working with a coach helped you to fulfill your goals. What were those goals?
Those goals were as simple as like speaking up in a big meeting with business people confidently, and reaching out to people, executives, just to have a chat, just to have coffee confidently, because I always want to connect with people and understand business and things like that and get more opportunities. But I never did that. And so I started doing those very confidently. And I also ended up competing in some of the speech contests as a public speaker, because I always loved public speaking, but I never felt I'm good enough for that. So again, I've won some speech contests as a public speaker. So all these are some of the personal goals I was able to accomplish.
Oh, nice. It's kind of cool that you were able to, I guess, walk into those goals at your own pace, especially the one where you were talking about speaking up at meetings. When I start the whole motivation for me even starting Teach the Geek was I had to give presentations in front of management as the project lead for the project that I was leading. Well, obviously, if I'm a project lead, I'm leading a project. I don't even know why I said that. But I had to do this. I had to do this every month in front of
Yeah.
management, and we're talking the CEO, the VP of R&D, VP, anybody with a corner office that was in this meeting. So it wasn't a choice that I had. Unfortunately, I couldn't just say I'll just I'll work at it over, but I had to do it. And those first few presentations were absolutely horrendous. They were terrible. And I noticed that a lot of the other engineers, their presentations weren't all that much better than mine. And that's really where everything started. It was me getting better at communicating with these management folks, because a lot of them, they're not technical people per se. And I was presenting things in a way that they obviously weren't taking in, because after the presentation, they'd ask me questions that I actually thought that I'd answered during the presentation. But because I wasn't presenting it in a way that they could take in, it was a waste of my time, it was a waste of their time. It was just a complete waste. And I had to do this every month. So I knew I didn't want to look like an idiot every time I had to give these presentations. So I better get better at this, and pronto.
Yeah, I love it, man. And what you're doing with Teach the Geek organization, I think public speaking is one of the most important skills that anyone can use, especially engineers. We are not trained in that skill. We're only trained to be logical and how we can solve problems. And I think, we need people like you to be able to help engineers get up to speed with some of these soft skills.
Wonderful. And one question that I was thinking about, now that you have the skills that you were lacking back when you were an engineer, and I know you're a coach now, but would going back to being an engineer possibly be in the future for you, or are you going to stick just with coaching for now?
Yeah, I mean, I still love engineering. I mean, so I'm thinking I would love to go back. Yes, that's something. It would be interesting to see how my new skills that I've gained can be applied to my engineering career, because I haven't completely utilized my new skills in any of my engineering jobs. So it would be interesting to see that.
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to the speaking that you do, what are the topics that you enjoy speaking about?
It's my main topic is transforming engineers into rock stars. Like, what are uncovering your peak potential as an engineer, and those are the main topics. Like, what are the actions that engineers can take within their capacity to increase their impact in whatever it is that they're doing.
Okay, that's a pretty interesting, and I guess it just stems from your own experience, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My own experience, and also from me learning through other people on their experiences, because I got a chance to work with some of the rockstar engineers, I also do podcasts, as you know. So I also share my experiences working with some of the rockstar engineers as well.
So, what's your definition of a rockstar engineer?
Yeah, good question. So. I believe there's a rock star. I mean, engineers don't see themselves as rock stars, most engineers at least. They see themselves as people who just takes orders from the business or their manager and do what they were asked to do. But a rock star is someone who's putting himself out there, who's being his best self on the stage, right? He's influencing people, he's entertaining the audience, and that's what a rock star is. And I believe every engineer has that as rockstar in them. It's just that they don't think they have that piece in them. They just suppress that rockstar, and it's just through coaching and speaking, I try to bring that rockstar from within people so that they can be their best selves in whatever it is that they do.
Okay, so the people that you coach, what kind of problems do they come to you with?
Just typically, there's something unhappy. I mean, they're making good money, they're good at what they do, but there is something that's holding them back from being their best selves. Whether they're not may not be getting promotions that they want to do. Maybe they're having really bad relationship with the managers or colleagues, or they're trying to learn some new technology, but they're not able to get up to speed quickly. Or they might want to change job, but they're not able to. They might want to start a business, but they're unable to take on that leap of faith and start a business. All these are some of the use cases that I typically receive.
Oh, okay. And then what exactly do you do with them to get them to get to, I guess, the outcomes that they want?
Yeah, it's basically like, there is every person has a story that keeps them get stuck in their career or their life. It's really understanding what their story is. What are the stories that they're telling themselves? Some of them might be positive stories that is helping them grow, but might be some negative stories that are pulling them back, but they don't know what those stories are. So it's really understanding what those stories are that they're telling themselves, and figuring out what are the stories that is pulling them back, and only they will know those answers. Once they identify those stories, every week there's a new action the item they'll be taking on, which will help them reframe the stories that are not working for them. And ultimately, as they take new actions, something out of their comfort zone, as a coach, I'm supporting them to take these new actions, and they start seeing new possibilities in their life, and starts achieving their goals.
Okay. Is the coaching more one-on-one or is it group coaching?
For now, it is one-on-one coaching that I do, but eventually I move on to group coaching just to make it more affordable.
Yeah, for sure. So, in the intro, I mentioned your podcast, Signs of High-Paid, High-Performing, Happy Engineers. What was the motivation for starting your podcast, and what do you hope people get out of it?
Yeah. So again, there are many engineers who are rock stars, right? Already, they're doing things like you're doing. Now, they're starting companies like Teach the Geek and helping others transform. So I talk to those engineers, and engineers who are also highly skilled at what they do. And I talk to the engineers, and many engineers are want to get help on how they can be a high paid, high performing engineer. So through these podcasts, I showcase such engineers and provide some nuggets of wisdom on how you can become a high paid, high performing engineer.
So I know that you said that public speaking wasn't necessarily a strength of yours at first, but obviously you've gotten better at it. What did you do to get better at it?
It all started with my journey at Toastmasters. You must be knowing about that organization.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, so it started with that with Toastmasters, like about 7 years ago, and I started going to that organization, and I almost like religiously attended all the meetings. I couldn't stop myself from going to those meetings, and I created a kind of community at Toastmasters. And as like they say, anything that you do regularly and consistently, you start becoming skilled at it, and that's what happened over the years.
Okay. Yeah, I was a member of Toastmasters for a number of years too. It's a wonderful place. It provides a wonderful forum to practice any type of speech that you want to give. I highly recommend it to people.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great. So when it comes to public speaking, do you have a process for putting your presentations together? And if so, what is it?
So I make sure I mean, I never thought about this question before, but on how to answer this, but this is the typical high level process that I follow. First of all, it's about getting clear on the message that you're giving out of the presentation. So many times we want to tell what we want to tell without thinking about what's the outcome of the entire presentation. It's keeping that in mind. There's only one main thing that you want to get out of the typically one or three things that you want to give to your participants or to your audience, and it's maintaining the entire presentation around those one or three points. And that's the key. I think that, I mean, I'll start with that. I mean, there are so many things that we can get to, but I think that's the key that many of us miss, is that everything should be able to tie into just one or three points. But most people, like, including myself during my early stages as a public speaker, I would be like talking about several different things and people would not understand where I'm going.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're talking to people outside of your field of expertise, it's difficult enough to try to distill the information in a way that they can understand. But if you're hitting them or bombarding them with a whole bunch of information too, oh, they're going to check out, and they're going to check out quick.
Exactly, man. And especially as an engineer, we love the details, and we want to tell everything that we know. But the other audience, they don't care about all the details. They just want to know a few things. And how do you put the presentation in such a way that you are just conveying the information that they are looking for, and you are skipping out all the other unnecessary details.
Absolutely. Do you ever get nervous when it comes to public speaking? And if so, how do you deal with your nerves?
Yeah, every time I'm on stage, I still get nervous with public speaking. And I think the first thing I say to myself, just for boosting my confidence, is like self-affirmations. I tell myself, I am a rock star speaker. I'm here to transform my audience. They're going to love me. Is one of the biggest self-affirmation. I really believe in what I just said just before walking on the stage. And every time I believe what I said, it's going to be a great presentation. Every time I didn't believe what I just told you, my energy is going to be down. People are going to notice it. The feedback is going to be off. So, but this typically works.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. If you tell yourself you're going to do well, you tend to do so. And if you tell yourself you're going to suck, you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously you've gotten much better at public speaking through Toastmasters and through your own efforts. Are there other tips that you could offer people who want to become more effective at public speaking?
I think it's everyone has. I think there's one thing I could probably share, which is that it's a very important skill. Even Warren Buffett emphasizes on how important of a skill public speaking is for people to learn. But everyone has to start at some point. Many people don't get started because they're like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is so much work. Yes, it is so much work, but it's totally worth your time. Get started at somewhere. Whether it's through Teach the Geek or through coaches like me or through Toastmasters, there's several platforms to improve your public speaking. Get started somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I first started, I think I would have eventually came to the conclusion I needed to get better at public speaking, even though I didn't have to give those presentations every month in front of management, because I would have eventually learned or just noticed that the people that move up in corporations aren't necessarily the smartest people. They're just the people that are able to speak and as you mentioned, influence people and just build relationships with the right people to be able to move up in corporations.
Love that. You nailed it.
Yeah, I tend to nail it every now and then.
Yeah. You're a funny guy.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or anything that you're working on currently?
Right now I'm sitting at home, like because of the entire lockdown thing. So just take advantage of this time. What I'm doing is I'm a data analyst. I worked as a data analyst, so I'm just playing around with a lot of data. This is the perfect time to bring the geek inside of you. So if there is some technology that you want to play around with, this is the time, because you don't have to commute. You don't have to do a lot of things that you would normally do. So take advantage of these times. There's always a light, even in the darkest times. So if you can see the light, I think you'll be able to take advantage of even these scary and uncertain times and make the best use of it.
Absolutely. How can people get in touch with you, Aditya?
So you can you can add me on LinkedIn. Neil has mentioned my name several times. Or you can just visit my website, www.whoweare.io. You can send me a message from the website. That's another way.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another episode of Teach the Geek Interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. The first offering of the platform is a public speaking course called Teach the Geek to Speak. To learn more about it, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Everyone, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Aditya.
Thank you so much, Neil.